The Las Vegas Raiders have officially made a major change by firing offensive coordinator Luke Getsy, and honestly, it's about time. This change feels like a big step forward, and here's why. It's clear that the Raiders' offense has been struggling all season, and many fans and analysts believe that Getsy was a major reason why. His play calling held the team back, and that's likely why head coach Antonio Pierce finally decided to make the switch. Now, it's not easy to make these changes early in the season. Teams usually want to give their coordinators some time to see if things can improve. But at this point, it became obvious that a change was needed. The Raiders are expected to move forward with Scott Turner as the offensive coordinator. Though it's not fully confirmed yet, Turner has some experience calling plays. Last year, he was the offensive play caller for the Washington Commanders, where he helped develop young QB Sam Howell. So we'll see if Turner can make a difference in the Raiders' offense. This season may be almost over for the Raiders, but this change gives them a chance to evaluate players like Gardner Minshew and Desmond Ridder. They need to see if there's any potential in their backup quarterbacks, especially since the upcoming draft class may not have a lot of solid quarterback options. There are so many QBs drafted high who don't pan out, and we've seen this pattern with players like Trey Lance, Bryce Young, and Justin Fields. So the Raiders might want to explore their own roster more closely instead of betting on a new rookie QB. Aiden O'Connell, the young QB who showed promise last season, is probably the most exciting player to watch under the new coordinator. Last season, he looked better than he does now, which could be due to Getsy's system. It seems like Getsy just didn't have a good handle on how to use the team's talent effectively. Another example of Getsy's limitations: the Chicago Bears let him go too, and since then, they've improved under their new offensive coordinator. The Bears actually tried several other coaches before landing on Getsy, including Cliff Kingsbury and Chip Kelly, who turned down the role. The Raiders seemed to settle for Getsy, and unfortunately, it's cost them. This season, we kept hoping Getsy would bounce back, but it never happened. The Raiders are sitting at 2-7 now, and a large part of that is due to an offense that couldn't find its rhythm. Now, with Getsy out, we can finally look forward to seeing some different approaches on offense. One thing I'm excited about with this new start is seeing how certain players fit into a fresh system. I want to see the offensive line's center and right tackle in action, and how the wide receivers adapt to new play designs. It's tough to see promising players like Tariq Mallister struggle just because they weren't used properly. Mallister shined in the preseason, but under Getsy, he didn't see that same success. Players like Trey Tucker, who has great potential, have also been underutilized. Instead of setting him up for big plays, the team has been throwing him 50-50ths jump balls, which doesn't play to his strengths. Now that Getsy is gone, maybe these players can finally showcase their skills in the right way. A lot of the Raiders' problems this season boil down to the offensive coordinator, and it's easy to see why Luke Getsy wasn't the right fit. It's not just big plays that were off, even basic communication between players seemed out of sync. For example, the wide receiver might run an out route, but the quarterback throws a back shoulder pass. Small mistakes like this add up, and they've really hurt the team's performance. When the Raiders hired Getsy, it was already a bit of a gamble. They tried to bring in other coaches, but after several turned them down, they settled for Getsy. Now we're seeing the consequences of that decision. However, if Scott Turner steps in as the offensive coordinator, there's some hope things might improve. He's not confirmed yet, but Turner's experience could bring a fresh perspective to the offense. One reason the Raiders may have struggled to attract top offensive coordinators is due to the uncertainty around head coach Antonio Pierce. Some coordinators hesitate to join a staff where the head coach's future isn't secure. If Pierce doesn't succeed as head coach, the whole staff could be out. We saw this recently with Eric Bieniemy, who spent a season as the Commanders' offensive coordinator before the entire coaching staff was replaced. It's risky for a coordinator to take a job if they think the head coach might not last. Even though I'm not fully convinced about Pierce yet, there are definitely quality coordinators out there. I've been a big fan of coaches like Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson, who are known for elevating offenses year after year, regardless of who's playing quarterback. With a talented play caller, you can find success even if your quarterback isn't elite. Kyle Shanahan is a great example. He's had winning seasons with quarterbacks like Jimmy Garoppolo. With a strong offensive mind, the system can carry the players, not the other way around. Unfortunately, Getsy's system wasn't doing that. A key moment that stands out is a goal line play in the preseason against the Minnesota Vikings. The Raiders had two players, Brock Bowers and Trey Tucker, collide because they weren't clear on their routes. Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback, had no options left, tried to run, and was eventually sacked. That play was a snapshot of the larger problem. This offense has just never found its rhythm under Getsy. People sometimes say the Raiders' quarterbacks are the issue, but I don't think that's accurate. Play calling matters much more than who's throwing the ball. Last year, Shane Steichen led the Colts to 9 wins with Gardner Minshew, a solid but not elite quarterback. With a good system in place, even average quarterbacks can look great. Now, with Getsy gone, the Raiders have a real chance to turn things around. Scott Turner, if he takes the role, could be a major upgrade as a play caller. It won't be easy, though. Since Getsy was the one who set up the current offense, Turner will be working with his playbook and schemes. Changing everything midseason is tough, but maybe Turner can adjust enough to bring some life back into the offense. Firing Getsy was definitely the right call. It's probably too late to fully save this season, but a better offense could still bring out some hidden potential in this team as they prepare for the future. We'll see where things go, but I'm glad Antonio Pierce is taking action. Still, if the Raiders don't show improvement, it's fair to question whether Pierce is the long-term answer for the team. I'm not saying the Raiders are on a path to the Super Bowl, but I'd love to see them string together some wins. With the current standings, they're only about 2 games out from a wild-card spot, and in a season as unpredictable as this one, 8 wins might actually be enough to sneak into the playoffs. It's a long shot, but if they can just stay competitive, there's a chance. What I really want to see is this offense getting back on track. We've got a solid core with guys like Center Jackson, tackle Paris Johnson, and 2 real offensive weapons who can make a difference if they're used effectively. Unfortunately, players like Trey Tucker and Tariq Mallister have been underutilized so far, and I'm hoping they can get more involved now. If Alexander Mattison, Brock Bowers, and Jacoby Myers can continue to contribute, we could see a much more dynamic offense under Scott Turner, or whoever steps in. Personally, I think Turner's likely to get the nod, and it'll be interesting to see what he can bring to the table. With Getsy officially fired, I feel optimistic about what's next. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Underdog. They make this content possible, and if you haven't tried them, you're missing out. I don't play traditional fantasy leagues much anymore because of Underdog. They have a game called Pick'em that's super engaging. You just pick stats for various players, like if Aiden O'Connell will throw for more than 125 yards, or if Dak Prescott will score at least 2 touchdowns. Some picks have multipliers too, so if you think, for instance, that Caleb Williams will rush for a touchdown, you can get a 4x multiplier on that pick. It's an exciting way to watch games, even when the big stars aren't playing. If you're interested, check out Underdog Fantasy and use my promo code on the screen. You won't regret it.